Hello everyone, welcome to Stand Up with Lorie. Today I am at Bailey Law Firm. I am sitting here with Jenna Bailey. Jenna, welcome to Stand Up with Lorie.
Thank you, great to be here.
Please let our viewers know a little bit about yourself.
Sure, so my name's Jenna Bailey. I own Bailey Law Firm. We are a local Arizona law firm with 3 locations here in Arizona. So we have locations in Tempe, Scottsdale, and Tucson. And we handle a variety of practice areas, so everything from personal injury, including medical malpractice and elder abuse and neglect cases. We handle estate planning, business law, real estate law, employment law, so kind of run of the gamut. And we have different attorneys and staff who focus their practice areas in each of those different skill sets.
And what do you focus on?
So I oversee the firm. I focus on, running the company and make sure that we have policies and procedures in place so that everything's kind of done how I want it done. So in that sense, I'm involved with all the different practice areas. I started my career as a prosecutor, so I started standing up for victims in the courtroom. I handled everything from vehicular manslaughters and aggravated assaults, so, drunk driver hurting and killing one or more people. I handled gang crimes, sex crimes, and things of that nature. So for me, myself, and my career, I spent a lot of time in the courtroom standing up for victims' rights in the criminal context. Moved on to what we call big law, so representing kind of the flip side of things, insurance companies and large companies in civil litigation, and then ultimately opened up my own law firm. So in kind of deciding what to do with my own law firm, we actually started only doing personal injury and medical malpractice because that was my background in litigation and also in standing up for injury victims. And then from there, as we hired the appropriate attorneys and staff, we kind of expanded practice areas.
So with all the experience that you had previously, you decided to get all that and start your own law firm. And now it is my understanding that you focus on personal injury when it comes to your clients. Is that correct? For personal injury?
We do. So the highest volume of what we do as a law firm is personal injury. So that includes everything from, car accidents, slip and falls, dog bites, kind of what people traditionally think as personal injury. But one of the things that makes us different as a personal injury law firm is we also handle a lot of medical malpractice and elder abuse and neglect cases. And in my view, those are kind of under the broad personal injury umbrella. So personal injury is essentially anytime someone else's negligence or wrongdoing physically and emotionally injures somebody else. So of course, in a car accident and dog bite, things like that, that's easy to understand. But even for licensed professionals, so when a doctor or hospital is negligent and that causes injury or death to somebody else, that's kind of also under the personal injury umbrella. But of course, a little subset that not everybody handles, and that's something that we handle quite a bit of.
Jenna, please talk to us about the decades of legal experience that your team has and their expertise.
Sure. And specifically with personal injury, we have attorneys that range from over 10 years to experience to 30 years of experience, really only handling personal injury cases. We also have paralegals who work under those attorneys who have been doing personal injury their entire career for 20 to 30 years as well. So all of our attorneys who handle personal injury cases have been doing so for decades and decades. And having that, it shows a couple of things. One, obviously just the experience of, knowing how to truly work up these cases and how to litigate these cases all the way to trial if needed. All of my attorneys, through their decades of experience, have done a number of jury trials and have no problem doing so. But two, it kind of shows their passion for helping injury victims because this is what they've been doing for decades. So they're really passionate about what they do specifically, and this is what they've done their whole career.
So I've been told you have a secret sauce when it comes to representing your clients. Talk to us about that.
Sure. I think my approach is I work really well with opposing counsel and other attorneys. I've been on the other side, so I tend to understand how they view cases and what they think is important in valuing cases. And I think it is in our clients' best interest to have good relationships with the other side and to be, quote, reasonable in that regard. But you have to mix that with being quote unquote aggressive or assertive as you need to be. So I think the sort of secret sauce is to not be needlessly aggressive, to work well with the other side, but to stand up firmly for our clients and what we think is appropriate. So in my personal practice, I've always tried to strike that balance, and I tend to hire attorneys who have the same approach. So all of our attorneys have good relationships with opposing parties that they work with, but by the same token, none of them are afraid to stand up and be aggressive when they need to be.
Jenna, on your website, it talks about how you are a voice for your injured victims. Can you talk to us about that, please?
Sure. So when people are injured, and I learned this from being a prosecutor and through civil litigation, a lot of times they feel like something happened to them, they're hurt, they have to deal with it for the rest of their lives, and whoever did it just kind of gets to go on with their lives. So when we say give a voice to injury victims, we mean we're not going to let that happen. We're going to stand up, we're going to make sure that everybody, including the person that hurt you or the entity that hurt you, knows that they hurt you and has to deal with it, not exactly the same way that you do, but in their own way. And it also means that in litigation, we're their advocates. So we're their only voice to explain what happened to them and to convince a jury or an insurance adjuster or a defense attorney or whoever we're dealing with why the case is worth what it's worth. So we want to make sure that we're able to truly understand their story and what happened to them and how it affects them on a day-to-day basis, and then be their advocate, be their voice in conveying that information so they get the recovery that they're entitled to.
Share with us a story of victory.
Sure. So kind of staying along those lines, we had a car accident, soft tissue injury case. The driver left the scene, so it was against her own policy to try to recover. And the major dispute was whether her total medical bills were related to that accident. She was an older woman and had some pre-existing medical history. So the top offer, again, this is from her own insurance company, from her own coverage, was I believe $50,000, $60,000, somewhere around there. So we went to arbitration. It was arbitration because, again, being her own insurance policy, there's always an arbitration clause in there. And it was a single arbitrator, and he awarded about $200,000, which is what we were asking for. So he went along with our theory of the case that all of the injuries we were claiming were related to this accident, whereas the insurance company was only valuing as some related and saying everything beyond a certain point really had to do with her pre-existing injuries.
That's very interesting because I have heard, when an attorney will say, well, this person had a lot of pre-existing, so it's not a great case.
Right.
But you were able to turn that around.
You have to hire experts. So again, it's kind of about putting money into cases, right? So if you're kind of just looking for the quick buck on a case, you're not going to hire experts because that's expensive, right? So you have to hire the experts to really develop that theory and support that theory. So you have to get the right professionals on board who look at all the records and come to the opinion that no, these are not maybe an aggravation of pre-existing injuries, which we still get credit for. In the law, there's a concept called take your plaintiff as you find them. So even if somebody, because of their medical history, was more prone to be more substantially injured, we still get credit for that. So as long as it was actually related, even if their prior injuries made them more prone, we just have to have an expert who's willing to tie the injuries to, all of what, or tie the crash to the extent of the injuries that our clients are experiencing.
And I'm sure, your clients have a great experience here at your law firm, but what is your goal? What would you want your clients to take away from the experience with Bailey Law Firm?
Really, it's about making them feel comfortable through the process. So again, just the experience of going through litigation is really stressful for people. And a lot of clients are left in the dark. These cases can take years to litigate. And actually, one of the most common bar complaints is clients not being updated about their case and don't know what's going on in their case. And I think that tends to happen because the cases just go on for so long in some cases. And sometimes there's not really anything to report, in the sense that it's like, okay, we're waiting for this, or we need the other side to do that. You know, the ball's kind of in the other side's court. But we make it a policy and a priority to keep our clients very informed about what's going on, even when there's, you know, not really an update. It's like, at least check in with them, you know, once every 3 to 4 weeks on these cases that take years, and just let them know, you know, hey, still waiting on records, hope to get them in the next 60 days or whatever. And clients really appreciate that, because they just don't want to feel lost in the process. Like, haven't heard from anyone in 6 months. Are people still working on my case, or what's going on? So we try to make that a big part of the experience. I mean, obviously, overall, we want them to be happy with the recovery, and we do everything that we can to achieve that. But that's a little bit more outside of our control to be a true policy, right?
I really like that. Policy and priority.
Right.
Is there anything else you would like our viewers to know about Bailey Law Firm?
The fact that we do multiple practice areas definitely is a benefit to our clients. So we get a lot of repeat clients who, you know, maybe initially we help them with their car accidents, and then, or car accident, hopefully, just singular. And then in 3 years, you know, they want to update their estate plan, or they want to get a trust in place. And it's very overwhelming to go about the process of finding a lawyer. So when our clients already have a relationship with us, even when they have a different legal issue, it's going to be a different team, right? A different attorney who handles that practice area. But they can reach out to someone they already know and say, hey, you know, now I have this, can you help me? And I know I'm a first generation attorney in my family, so I always grew up thinking lawyers were like super cool, but also expensive, right? Like, if I even call their office, is it going to be like $1,000? And so I know firsthand that a lot of people think that, and the law feels really inaccessible in that way to a lot of people. So the fact that we handle different practice areas allows people who have already established that relationship with us to just come back to us for another issue. And if it happens to be one of the few things we don't help with, then we make sure we get them to an attorney and kind of do that warm handoff, instead of, oh yeah, call this number.
So it is good for them to call with any need.
Anything,
contact
yes.
Bailey
Contact
Law
us.
Firm.
We'll either help you, or we'll make sure that you get to somebody who can.
Jenna, please let our viewers know where they could find Bailey Law Firm.
Sure. So our website is www.baileylawfirmaz.com. We are on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And then physical location-wise, again, it's Tucson, Tempe, and Scottsdale, where we have offices.
Thank you. And thank you so much for all this information. I know that you have a stellar reputation among other attorneys. And just thank you for giving us all this knowledge on what you stand for and what you represent. And thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this interview, and we will see you next time.